What's going on, everyone? My name is Alex Nickla here, and this is episode 2 of the Alex Nickla Show and our second podcast. Today, we have an incredible guest. Jason Tsirtsis is one of Northwest Indiana's greatest athletes ever, and I'm excited to have Jason on the podcast today. So, Jason, thanks for coming, man.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So, I remember before we start and go into your career, one of the coolest things I remember about you, we never hung out. Never really hung out, but one thing growing up, I was
still always respected you in high school.
Yeah, it's insane, man. Likewise, but there's a specific time that I remember and created my opinion of you, and it was awesome. We were working out at Crown Point High School at the gym, and I'm doing a basketball workout, and I see you working out.
Okay.
And I have I've never seen that in my I've never seen that level of intensity.
Yeah.
I've never seen that level of focus. And if I had the mindset that I had now, I would have grabbed you, dude, and been like, bro, we're going to be best friends.
Right.
Because your level of focus, man, was incredible. And not to mention, like, you know, we'll go into your career and what you've been able to do, which is phenomenal. But more importantly, it's who you are, I think, that is the coolest part. Your energy and there's nobody that has anything negative to say about you, and dude, it's
no,
awesome.
I appreciate all those things, and I'm just here to promote myself, promote my club here in Northwest Indiana, and try to get the word out that Jason Tsirtsis is back to show Indiana wrestling who the man is.
That's awesome, man. Cool. So before we go into that, let's talk about like how you were, growing up. I was doing some research and found out you started wrestling at 4 years old.
Yeah.
So who was it that got you into it? Was it your dad? Was it family? How did it start?
Yeah, so my dad, he grew up in Munster, Indiana.
Okay.
He went to Munster High School, and back then the culture with wrestling was so where you didn't really start wrestling until 7th grade or so. Mm-hmm. So he got into wrestling through that. Didn't really do too much, nothing like me or my brother Alex in high school, but that drive with him, it was instilled within me at such a young age that I was able to learn so much from my father and my siblings. That mental toughness, that focus, that drive, it was instilled at such a young age.
The mindset came from your family.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
100%.
So you were 4 when you started actually wrestling.
Yeah.
Well, where were you wrestling at? Like just at home?
Dalton Park Falcons was my first club.
At 4?
Yeah, 4 years old.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
I think about my nephew who's 5. I think about my nephew who's 5 years old now. Think about him wrestle. It's fun.
Right.
That's awesome. So it started from day one.
Yeah, 100%.
Cool. And were you? Because at that time your brother Alex was 4 or 5 years older, right?
8.
Oh, he's 8 years old. Okay.
Yeah.
So he really wasn't wrestling with you in the beginning, but as you started to grow up, I'm sure you guys, he taught you some things.
Yeah. I mean, he's my biggest mentor in a sense.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So with Alex, I guess you could say I idolized him.
Mm-hmm.
He's my older brother,
of course.
But in the same sense, I was able to grow up with him. Right. So you get to learn the ins and outs of what being a champion really is.
Yeah.
And he was 236-0 in high school, never lost. The pressure.
236-0.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah. Held a national record for the longest time. I don't know if he still does.
But, oh my gosh.
Yeah, so
that's
I was
amazing.
able to implement that type of lifestyle into my lifestyle. Mm-hmm. So my brother ultimately is the biggest reason I was able to grow and prosper into the wrestler and / coach that I am today.
That's awesome. So he was kind of like that catalyst for you, for the most part, looking up to your big brother.
Right, exactly.
Going into high school, now in high school at that point, I pulled some numbers too, 176-2. Right?
Yeah, speculation. But maybe 178-2.
70. Okay, all right. 178-2. So 178 wins and 2 losses. The 2 losses were your freshman year.
Yeah.
And they were both 3-2.
Yeah.
And you came back and actually
avenged them.
Yeah. And it was semi-state, right? Or semifinals in state.
So the first semifinals in state.
To an All-American.
Yeah.
An All-American wrestler at Purdue, right?
Who went on to
become.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Right,
so.
Right.
Amazing, man. So, but what's awesome too is your last 3 years of high school, you never gave up an offensive point. Like, what does?
Yeah.
How the hell does that happen? How does that happen, man? So you dominated.
Yeah. I mean, high school wrestling. It's with the journey I had throughout college. Thinking back on high school, it's like, man, it's a long time ago.
Yeah.
But I've grown a lot through that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that I was taught by Scott Vlink, people like that, who really instilled that grit, that toughness, that I was able to carry into college wrestling at Northwestern and then Arizona State.
Yeah. So how was it at high school level?
Right.
What separated you so much from everybody else?
That focus, I think, that mental focus.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. When you got kids that were not doing the right things, things like that. I was in the lab, I guess you could say, the wrestling room.
Like, you're saying kids out partying,
yeah, if you want to put it like that,
right?
Sure. But I guess you could say that. But what I was getting at is I was always trying to improve, whether it was schoolwork, whether it was wrestling, whether it was being a good family member, a good friend, things like that.
Yeah.
My mental focus was so focused that I didn't let the distractions of social norms in high school necessarily get in the way of my wrestling.
Right.
And that's the biggest thing I think with any athlete in any sport and that's why wrestling is such an intense sport, is because you have you and then you have your opponent. And I played team sports growing up, so I get the intensity behind a team sport, and then you put that intensity just on yourself. Yeah. It makes you grow as a kid. So, yeah, that type of mental focus, growing up as an athlete, is ultimately the focus that I like to portray as an adult today.
And going back to that story, man, in the gym, I've never seen someone so focused.
Yeah,
and
I think Coach Garrett might attest to that.
Yeah, absolutely. And going, that was, and it made so much sense to me at that point why you were who you were. I think it was my sophomore year. You're a junior, and it made so much sense to me then after watching it.
Right.
Why you had done what you accomplished. So it's that
absolutely.
level of focus. Clearly, work ethic, obviously, but that level of focus is set you apart. Going into college, your first season. You went, you were 34-2, something like that.
32-3 maybe.
Yeah, but you were a national champion.
Yeah.
National champion. What was that experience like? Before we even go into that, how about the level of competition? How was the level from high school to D1?
The gap between high school wrestling and college wrestling, it's immense. The difference between going into a tournament in high school where you might have one tough match compared to college where every single person you're wrestling at a D1 level is 3-4 times state champs.
Right.
So that mental focus that we were just discussing about in high school, you have to take that and amplify it times 1,000.
Right.
And get to the college wrestling D1 level. And
sorry to cut you off, but to think about that, man, you lost 3 matches your first year to those guys.
Right.
So what, again, was it the level of focus, do you think, that set you apart from them?
I think it's a culmination of things.
Yeah.
I think it's 20 years or whatever it was at that point. I was 19. So 15 years of wrestling experience that was instilled by my father, my brother, my coaches, that I was able to really put together a special tournament.
Yeah.
5 matches at the NCAA tournament. So it was a grind, but it's one of my proudest moments in my life. So.
How was that feeling once you won? I've watched that a couple times now, and it's incredible. So what was that like?
It's indescribable.
Yeah.
I can't really describe it. That feeling, being up there on that stage, I don't really talk about it. Just because there's not many people that quite get it, that understand that that intensity of having an entire arena filled
Yeah.
with crazy wrestling fans. And then on top of that,
Yeah.
you have ESPN filming you.
Right.
And you got millions of people maybe watching. I
Yeah.
don't know what the count was. But the intensity behind that, it's a once in a lifetime type of experience.
That's
So,
awesome.
yeah.
And I know that 2014, 2015, and
Yeah.
2015 you were third in the nation, right?
Right.
Yeah. So
unfortunately.
your first, unfortunately,
Yeah.
but your first 2 years in college, man, you lost 5 matches for
Yeah.
a total of 8 points.
Right.
So you go from
70, I was like 79 and 5 or something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, and a total of 8 points. Like, that blows my mind. You go from high school where you did what you did to the highest level and dominate everybody too. So it's pretty incredible, man.
Yeah, for sure. And the sport of wrestling, it's so to where you can really implement different types of styles. Whether it's a gritty type of style, it's a funky type of style, whether it's a in-your-face, go type of style.
Right.
You're able to implement that into who you are as a wrestler and who you are as an individual, and then that type of style is what makes you who you are as a person.
Right.
So that lifestyle that goes behind wrestling, it's an intense one, but it also it makes life in general, the perspective on life after wrestling is really interesting.
Yeah,
for sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So after those 2 seasons, then you get to a tough point in life where you go through some tragedy.
Yeah.
Something that most people don't experience in their life, but losing some very close people to you.
For sure.
How were you able to handle that mentally? I mean, in the biggest time of your career,
Right.
you literally had horrible things happen. So how were
Yeah.
you able to handle that? What advice would you give to anybody else who handles something?
I think it's coping in the right ways. So for a while, I struggled on talking to people. There was times where I'd lock myself in my room, not talk to anyone, just play guitar, play video games for hours on end, just to escape, So making sure having that right coping mechanism in place, whether it's going to see a therapist, whether it's going to talk to people, things like that. Death is the ultimate. It's the ultimate tragedy in a sense. So learning to cope with that at such a young age, it makes me feel like I'm an old man in a sense,
Yeah.
So I'm able to really get tough when I feel emotions with death. It's a tough thing to talk about.
Yeah.
But for anyone struggling out there with that, the best way I would say to approach something like death is to talk to people about it.
Yeah, be able to express how you feel and get your feelings out. And that's great, man. How about, has anything positive that you've taken from it, from a mindset standpoint, for people that have lost somebody?
Oh, man. It's an everyday struggle in a sense. It's constant. There's really no good advice anyone could give other than you just got to stay strong.
Yeah.
So
awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. After that, then you ended up going out to Arizona State after another year at Northwestern, and you just finished up your career.
Yeah.
I guess one thing I would ask, man, is
the weather out there is fantastic.
yeah, the dry heat's great.
Yeah.
But how are you happy with how your career went and going out to Arizona State?
Yes.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Awesome.
That transition was the toughest transition I've ever had in my life. Going from Northwestern, an institution that is easily considered one of the best in the country, if not the world. Going from there to a place in the desert where I don't know anyone besides a select few. The transition, I can't really attest to anyone listening how difficult that was, going from the family, the tightness of my family, how close all of us are, especially after losing a sister.
Of course.
Then leaving Northwestern, then going to Arizona State, being 31 hours away. The transition was difficult, but I had people like Zeke Jones, one of the best coaches I've ever had in my life. He got me through times that I questioned.
Yeah.
And that's what a great coach is. And that's why I'm excited to give back in my coaching career,
Yeah.
in a sense. So with Zeke, the biggest thing that he did while I was out there is he made me feel like I was family.
That's
And
awesome.
that Sun Devil mentality is something that is so the weird thing about that transition to Arizona State was the recruiting process. I had to get recruited over again, which is weird.
That's weird,
Because,
especially after being a national champion.
Right, being in college for 4 years, understanding how the college system works. It was interesting to be able to go back and do it again because I was such a highly touted recruit coming out of high school. I saw what I was looking for in that wrestling program.
Yeah.
Awesome. I saw the tightness, the camaraderie, the brotherhood in that room that I didn't see really any other place that I was looking at. And with that, I can attest to it now because 3 years later they're the 5th ranked team in the country.
That's awesome.
And Zeke Jones is doing the right things. To where you go back to 2011, that program has done nothing but gone up. So
That's
people
awesome.
like Zeke Jones, they're the people I aspire to be. As a
Yes.
wrestling coach.
Touch on that. How much? Because that's what you're doing now. Touch on the mentorship coach side of things.
Right.
How important were mentors to you, and who are some of those?
They're
people?
everything.
Yeah.
I can name every single one of my coaches in my life.
That's
I've
awesome.
got probably 12 to 15 of them. My dad was really good at taking me to different spots in the area to get the best wrestling. So it's really interesting to see now the other side of things. So now I'm the coach helping these kids in the region that struggle with kid things. And I'm able to 4 hours of their 7-day week schedule, I'm able to go in and help these kids grow as individuals, help these kids grow as wrestlers, help these kids improve their technique and their lifestyle to the point that they're learning, they're getting better, and they're becoming the wrestler and the person they want to be when they're obviously grown up.
Yeah. So
adults.
go into your academy, man. Talk about what it is you're doing now.
I just coach wrestling right now. That's pretty much what I'm doing. I also have a part-time job in the city.
Cool.
To supplement my living.
Yep.
So I do pretty well. I work with both my brothers. I keep it close with my family.
Yeah.
Other than that, there's really not too much that I do.
Where's
I just focus on wrestling.
Where's the academy at?
It's at Calumet High School.
Nice. Very cool. And then are you guys taking in new kids?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Anytime. You can go to regionwa.com.
Awesome.
All the information's there.
And to literally be coached, mentored by 2 of the best wrestlers in the country, you and your brother.
Yeah,
very
absolutely.
cool right here in Northwest
2 4-time
Indiana.
state champs.
Yeah.
So it's not too bad.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, as we finish up, lastly, just go into, to get to where you've gotten. You've always had the mindset. We kind of touched on it a little bit before, but what is it what is your mindset like? What would you say are the keys to your success in your career?
If I could sum it up into 5 words, I guess I would say grit, toughness, intensity, good character. I guess that's 5. So good character.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
Dude, thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate it. So thank you guys for watching. Any of you out there who have children, what ages?
K through 12.
K through 12 that are interested.
Obviously, it's high school season right now.
Of course. Yeah. Learning from some of the best wrestlers in the country right here in Northwest Indiana. Visit their website at
regionwa.com.
regionwa.com. But thank you guys for watching. Really appreciate your time, and take care.